Hey guys, so this video is kind of different as well, but you'll probably find it interesting. My guess is that you have not yet heard this, as this was presumably just national news in my country, where it wasn't even that big of a story. And I doubt that someone from the Times is actively reading Dutch news to translate their national stories for their newspaper, so allow me to bring you the news instead. Very recently, biologist in the Netherlands called Peter de Keizer from the Erasmus University of Rotterdam got a patent that allowed him to break his long silence that he had to keep in order to avoid people stealing his invention. He and his team invented a serum that had a certain strange effect on the subjects it had been applied to. He injected the serum into some old lab mice, and these mice that were old, grey and balding with twisted backs, which is a natural occurrence in old age, grew back their hair within 10 days. And furthermore, the hair they had regained was not grey, but black. Another thing they noticed is that after 3 weeks, the mice ran 3 times as much. Their organ functions had improved, especially their kidneys, and their back, which was once twisted due to old age, regained its youthful form.
Ja, het zou een film kunnen zijn. Een wetenschapper die een medicijn maakt waarmee veroudering wordt gestopt. Maar het lijkt inmiddels werkelijkheid te kunnen worden. Vandaag publiceert een wetenschappelijk tijdschrift erover. En de uitvinder van dat wondermiddel is een Nederlandse bioloog.
Het lijkt wel alsof er voor bijna ieder verouderingsprobleem een andere crème is.
Stel je voor, geen anti-rimpelcrèmpjes meer. Of zulke spotjes. Bioloog Peter de Keizer was er jarenlang mee bezig, toen ineens het kwartje viel.
Ik weet nog dat ik in mijn auto zat en bijna ergens tegenaan reed, omdat ik zo aan het nadenken was over het resultaat. Dus dat was het eerste Eureka moment eigenlijk.
Een paar jaar lang moest hij zijn mond houden. Stel je voor dat collega's ermee aan de haal zouden gaan. Maar vanaf vandaag mag hij het van de daken schreeuwen, al is je daar het type niet voor.
Dus hier bewaren wij de kankercellen en de cellen waarmee we het verouderingsonderzoek doen.
Cellen die ons oud en ziek maken. De Keizer heeft een stofje om die uit ons systeem te krijgen.
Dat betekent dat we nu voor het eerst iets hebben waarmee we veroudering ook echt daadwerkelijk terug kunnen draaien. En dat we daarmee hopelijk mensen ook echt langer gezond kunnen houden.
Veroudering is een opeenhoping van oude cellen. Hoe meer verouderde cellen, hoe meer kans op ouderdomsziekte. Het stofje van de bioloog moet die foute, verouderde cellen scheiden van de goede. Dan neemt de spiermassa toe, gaan haren weer groeien en organen beter functioneren.
Die cellen zouden er helemaal niet moeten zijn, omdat we nooit zo oud zouden moeten worden volgens de natuur. Wij worden nou eenmaal steeds ouder, dus die cellen komen er steeds meer en meer en meer. We weten nu precies waarom die cellen in leven blijven. Dat zijn die foute cellen. En het is heel simpel, wij hebben nu een stofje wat die cellen opruimt. En doordat we ze net een zetje geven, kunnen we ze mooi over de klif duwen.
His method exists of using the element proxofilm, which is a peptide, a protein that can enter cells. This proxofilm attacks the so-called senescent cells, which are cells that stopped dividing, but are not really dead and just take up space. The removal of these senescent cells causes the body to produce more stem cells, which is a good thing, of course. According to de Keizer, this method would also help take on aggressive forms of cancer. De Keizer effectively proved that at least some aspects of age are reversible. He managed to do so by creating a potion that allows the body to filter out the bad cells, which are mutations that occur over time and heap up, which is the cause of old age and also is one of the main causes of cancer, if not the cause. You may think that this is bullshit, but beside the fact that this is someone from a respected university who just proved just that with evidence, a natural version of biological immortality already actually exists in the wild. There's a jellyfish found in the Mediterranean Sea and also around the waters in Japan called Turritopsis dohrnii. And it is actually biologically immortal, because when it is exposed to environmental stress or physical assault, or is sick or old, it can revert back to the polyp stage, forming a new polyp colony. It does this through the cell development process of transdifferentiation, which alters the cells and transforms them back into a new type of cells. Essentially, it can revert back to a child when it's old by changing its cells, which is similar to the Keizer's method of replacing senescent cells with stem cells. In theory, there could be jellyfish swimming around that are millions of years old, but I very much doubt that, since there are still predators and other dangers instead of just old age. Just like if immortality was achieved, humans would still die in wars, accidents, diseases and other dangers. Of course, you could say that renewing all your cells makes you a completely different entity, but I would object to that notion, as nothing really changes other than that you get youthful cells instead of old fucking cells, okay? If you are called Ted, then you would still wake up every morning knowing that you are Ted and not suddenly Alex, you know? Having cells renewed would not cause your brain to suddenly become switched. Furthermore, cell renewal is already a natural phenomenon occurring in humans. The only difference in the Keizer's method is that the bad cells would get removed, like malware on a computer that has been slowing it down. Now, would it be possible for the biologists to apply the serum to humans instead of mice? Of course it would be. Both are based upon the idea of replacing cells, and shocker, both species actually have cells. Of course, the switch to humans will not immediately be made. There will still be a lot of tests that have to be done before we actually randomly inject a human with the serum. According to one post by the Keizer, I saw that it will take about 2 years or so till we get to that point. And in another video he said 5, so let's just assume it's 5 years. But based upon street interviews, there are already a lot of old people that are actually willing to volunteer right now. So there would be no lack of people willing to take the quote-unquote gamble. So immortality is within our grasp, or at least a certain form of it. What does this mean for us? Is this good or bad for humanity? Personally, I would love to be immortal, as I feel like our time is way too limited, and I think you might feel the same way. Now, you probably already thought up the main issue usually brought up when it comes to immortality, which is overpopulation. You might be afraid that the Earth is becoming so overpopulated that we will all die of starvation or shit like that. But I personally think that overpopulation is the beauty of the whole thing, as it forces our hand. Think of climate change. The majority of people don't really care all that much, as it's still not an acute situation. But something should be done, right? And people know it. Yet no one acts on it, even though everything would be better if we actually did. Overpopulation is quite the same as climate change. Now with immortality there would be pressure to find a solution, and the solution is very easy. We go to other planets. We populate other planets as it will be the best option and the most profitable. Similar to when we went to the moon. We need a reason to go other than that it's just such a cool thing to do. Like in the Cold War, Americans and Russians went into space to beat each other at it. If not for this rivalry, there would have barely been a reason to actually go. Now we have a reason again. It will be the next inevitable evolution of mankind, and I think it will be a good one, as having humans present on multiple planets protects us from extinction in the case of some douchebag setting off a huge nuclear disaster or something like that. I think the future looks quite interesting. Well, that's it for the video. I hope you liked it, because I'm considering making more like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.